Spoken
I
language.
haven't thought about flying for a long time. I haven't dreamed at that moment when I was alone above the clouds for a long time. I haven't dreamed waking up in a room surrounded in blue and green grass for more years than I could dream of remembering. I haven't walked back into the past or scratched on the doors of my origins, where it all came from, since I hung up that cape for the last time.
Return to Cape Town 10th Year Anniversary Edition is a revised version of Andy N's first poetry book. The book can be purchased from Amazon and it contains numerous additional material.
Spoken language.
You wake up one morning after not reading a book since your school days and you decide to be a writer, with no good or bad writing to compare against your own. You just know how to write and anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong. Hell, maybe they're jealous of your natural ability to craft a masterpiece. After all, most people need to learn through a combination of books, courses, critical feedback and workshops. Not you though. It's not their fault they don't realise your natural talent, but they soon will.
How to Write Wrong is the new book by Amanda Steele. The book, which is an interactive story, gives the reader multiple options throughout its story. The book can be purchased from Amazon.
Spoken
Thank you
language.
today for tuning in to Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up at the beginning of 2016 and as of recording has over 200 sessions in our archive. Although the podcast can be heard on Anchor, iTunes, Apple, Spotify, YouTube and literally 10 or 11 other networks, the full archive can be found at Spoken Label, all one word, spokenlabel.bandcamp.com. On Bandcamp, it is set as pay what you want, so you are entitled, if you wish, you can download it or stream it for nothing. But if you throw me a couple of pennies my way, it is always eternally grateful to help me maintain the operating costs and future running costs of this podcast. Enjoy.
Spoken language.
Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house again, and I'm on Zoom again today. Now I like sometimes the Spoken Label, catching up with old friends, and the lady we got on Zoom today, we were just talking about this happened with the spoken. It was October 2018, and she just gave me a right merry list. I knew some of the stuff we were going to talk about today already, but she surprised me. So Mel, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody, tell them who you are, give them a quick overview of who you are as a person, and then we'll jump into what you've been up to since we last chatted nearly 2 years ago.
Okay, thank you very much for having me, Andy. My name's Mel Wardle Woodend, and I'm the Stafford Poet Laureate 2019 to 2021. I've been a spoken word artist performing on the sort of West Midlands spoken word scene since 2017, and I've been a published writer for about the last 5 years. And this is what I do full time for a living as well.
Yeah, I know. So you've just been telling me all folks that we've got plenty to talk about today. So, and I said in the past 18 months, you like I said, first of all, it's obviously become poet laureate, didn't you? In October last year. Can you tell people a bit about the experience on that? So obviously, like there must have been quite a lengthy application to apply for that, I'm presuming, straight at least.
Yes, I mean, I first put in a written application, which involved having to write a new poem for the application about Staffordshire because that's the county, and also some of my sort of strong poems that I really wanted to apply with, as well as why I would like the role and what I could bring to it. And then the written applicants were shortlisted and I was invited for an interview. It was probably the most nerve-wracking interview I've ever been to in my life because I really wanted the role so much. And I'm just delighted that I've got this opportunity to be somebody in the poetry field who can bring poetry to all sorts of communities and hopefully make it fun and accessible for everybody.
Oh yeah, completely. Are you the first poet laureate then for Stafford?
No, there have been poet laureates for Staffordshire since 2012, I think. So each of us have a 2-year tenure.
Ah, right. So did they tell you at the time what they expected of you then, or did you know yourself what you wanted to do?
Well, it was a question of really thinking about what I've been doing for spoken word already over the past few years and what I'd like to do, so how I could take that further into the community and engage more people in different ways, really.
Yeah, of course.
Projects that I've got in mind.
You can obviously, you were telling me off before about, and I knew about Untitled Word Stafford. Obviously, like I
Yeah.
said, which started off in the B-side already in the back of a pub and like a slam open mic night. And
Yeah.
you were taking that out for the lockdown out into the community, local libraries, weren't you?
That's
Straight
right.
away. So tell people a bit about that experience.
So that's really different because obviously if you're having a spoken word night and it's in a pub and people know it's a regular event and they come along to it because they know about it and they're obviously interested in poetry and having a night out with spoken word. So it was really interesting to get involved with a local initiative called Stafford Walking Street, which is really like a street market with lots of craft stalls and different people selling their wares. And we had our own stall at Word Stafford in the shopping centre, so it was undercover and we could make sure the books were kept safe and not getting wet in bad weather.
Oh, yeah.
And we did performances in the middle of this shopping centre in Stafford to anyone walking past, really. We had set times to perform, so we could draw a crowd and people could sit on chairs if they wanted to. Generally, it was more about catching people going past who might stop and look at our stall, and we could get them interested in spoken word that way.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. I did something similar over at Berry Market 5 6 years ago. And I remember that because we had it in the biggest gazebo tent with seats of about 30 people. I remember it well because I don't, at least you were indoors, we weren't. And we had thunder and lightning and the tent got blown away. So we were on stage watching this tent go flying above the building. So that was good fun. But yeah,
you don't want lightning to be striking the microphone.
No, that was a bit worrying that day, definitely so. Now, obviously, the next project I will talk about is you're currently only doing 9:30 every day, aren't you? A poem a day.
That's right.
Just Scruffy the Guinea Pig, which is a lovely idea. Tell people about what made you want to do this project.
Well, when the lockdown happened for COVID-19 and the schools closed, I realised that as Stafford Poet Laureate, I'd really like to try and do something to make poetry and literacy accessible to children still who'd been missing out on school. So I thought if I was to just do a really short one poem or two poems every morning on my Facebook live feed, people with young children could watch it or they could share it to friends with youngsters. And I wanted it to be sort of fun and engaging. So I've got a guinea pig who's a very long-haired, scruffy character. His name is actually Scruffy, and he sits with me, squeaking away at the camera while I share a poem. And at first, we did poems from my children's book called "What Am I?" An Alphabet of Animal Poems, and they're all poems written in the first person where the animal is describing itself. So children can guess what kind of animal it is, and their grown-ups could type in the sort of messaging section as I was doing it live, and then I could say, oh yes, so-and-so's got it right, or sort of interact with the children that way. But we quickly ran out because obviously the lockdown's gone on for much longer than I suppose people anticipated. So we went through that book, and we went through my book for slightly older children called I Smell Fish and Chips and Worms Too. And now we're on a great big lovely anthology called 100 Poems for Children, which is edited by Roger McGough.
Great. So do you think, how much longer do you reckon you'll take to do this project on for? And do you reckon we'll do it till that's just kids go back to school and you're not sure yet?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think probably schools are really not going to be back officially and properly fully until sort of September-ish. So I'll just carry on for as long as it needs.
Yeah, it's a good little habit to get into every morning anyhow, really, because I'm always a believer. When you do a regular project like that, it builds momentum up all the time. And have you had lots of good feedback on that so far?
Yeah, I've had lovely feedback. I've had people with children who don't really think that they might like poetry, and they've listened and they've interacted with it and engaged with it, and they've enjoyed it. And also a lot of adults have been listening in as well. So something that was just aimed at children has had a wider reach than I thought, and it's been a lovely response.
Oh, brilliant. No, it's an excellent idea, that, definitely. Now, obviously, the next thing I want to talk about is your 100 Memories project you told me about before. Because people like I've guessed you, Mel, here, over the last 18 months before we not spoke, you've done so much stuff, and it's great this go. You just chat all night here, definitely. So that's what 100 Memories project next to.
Okay, so the 100 Memories project was a charity anthology that I put together in aid of Alzheimer's Society. It's a condition that's touched my family quite closely, and I think it touches a lot of people. It affects the people who are ill with the condition, and also the family around them, carers and friends. So I felt like it was a charity I really wanted to try and support, and also because writing can be such a therapeutic experience. I felt that if anyone was writing out their own experiences of caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or any sort of form of dementia, that it would be therapeutic for them to do so. And it was lovely. I mean, I had, I think, over 300 responses to the call out for submissions and asked for poetry and short stories. So I had to whittle it down to 100 because that was the point. It was to be 100 people's or 100 memories in the book. So that was really quite hard to narrow it down. And we had some beautiful artwork done by an artist based in the south of the West Midlands, I think, based sort of down in Coventry, to go with some of the poems. So that was a lovely sort of aspect to the book as well. It was illustrated, and it was also published through a dyslexia-friendly format through my imprint Dream While Writing, because I'm really passionate about books being accessible to everyone. And the launch itself, it was amazing. We had over 120 people at Stafford Library coming to the launch event, and people said how much solidarity it had brought, which was really, as well as raising money for the Alzheimer's Society, I wanted that aspect of it to really touch people and make them feel a connection.
Brilliant, brilliant. Now, obviously, next of all, there's quite a few things because I'm just going to go for a talk with greatness because I need to do a lot of talks and stuff as well since the last time we talked as well. It's the public as well. So tell us a bit about that next and what's been going on with that then.
Sorry, I just missed that last bit.
Oh, I know you were mentioned before off mic that you're doing a lot of talks at the moment, aren't you? Obviously, up to when lockdown happens. Tell us people about what talks you've been doing a lot of this in public.
Absolutely. So I've been doing a lot of work sort of within the community. One of the just recently before the lockdown, one of the major events that I went to were the Stafford Borough Community Awards, and I've been invited to write a poem about what community means to share with them, because like I say, I do a lot of sort of mental health talks. I do a lot of work with different libraries and different sort of community venues. And so rather than just writing a poem about what I think community means, I wanted it to be, I was asking other people's perspectives, because community could be all sorts of different things to all sorts of different people. So I sort of took snippets of what people had said, little sentences people had told me that community meant to them, and then turned it into a poem to share at this particular award, which I'm happy to share with you if you'd like.
To hear it. Yeah, in the second half, definitely, I would love to hear that, definitely. So now, also, I know the big thing you've got coming up at the moment is there's a few more projects for you as well. You've got a new book on the way, haven't you? Or correction, it's actually just coming up.
That's right. I followed the National Poetry Writing Month, which is sometimes called NaPoWriMo, and you see it with a hashtag. I followed that in April of this year. I've never followed anything like that before, but I really wanted. I just kind of thought, well, we're in lockdown. I have actually got a bit more time than usual, so there was no excuse really for not following something and writing a poem a day for a month. And so the book is largely based on those poems prompted by the NaPoWriMo prompt.
Oh wow!
But some of them, when I looked on each day, if it was something that I couldn't really or didn't feel inspired by or wanted to engage with, I kind of ignored the instruction and just did a poem that might have been different to the prompt, but was still a poem that I was writing that day. So it's a collection of 30 poems written during the lockdown. They're not all lockdown themes at all, but they are just a variety really, of different forms and different kind of moods, because I think we've all gone through a lot of different sort of mental and emotional states with this year so far in 2020. So it's just a small collection, but it's my first personal collection as Stafford Poet Laureate, and it's actually a limited edition collection where there are only 50 available altogether. Oh, wow. So yeah, it's just something a bit special, and somebody who I know from the poetry scene has also produced beautiful artwork for the front cover of a watercolour illustration as well.
Oh, fantastic. Now, obviously as well, a couple of things we'll talk about before we get into a few poems for us.
I know you did a poetry film the other year, didn't you, as well? The Pocket Films.
That's right. Earlier this year, I was working with Staffordshire Libraries and with a local middle school in Staffordshire to encourage children to access poetry. And the idea was that we watched this really old film footage from the 1960s of a carnival procession going through Stafford town centre. And then the children were to use that as inspiration to write a poem about Staffordshire. So I went into their school for several weeks doing workshops, and the children all produced a poem, and it was sort of contrasting Staffordshire in the, I'm going to say in quotation marks, olden days of the 1960s compared to now. And it was really lovely to see what the children came up with. And I also wrote a poem for that event. And Jonathon Watkiss, who I run Word Stafford with, he's actually a filmmaker as well as a poet. And he helped me to put together a poetry film of my poem, Echoes. So it was great fun because we went filming on location all around Staffordshire. Unfortunately, it was the winter and we had all of those terrible storms. So there was one moment we were up at Stafford Castle with hail actually hitting my ear. But it was really good fun to put together. And it's on YouTube and it's on my Facebook page and the Word Stafford page. And it's a lovely achievement to have got something so permanent with visual effects as well.
Yeah, completely. Now, I know you've been doing some work for the Empathy Lab at the moment as well, for Empathy Day as well.
That's right.
Yeah, you want to tell people about that next then as well, then?
Okay. Well, the Empathy Day is an initiative to get people to read. It's sort of through the Empathy Lab and libraries connections. So the idea is that you can find empathy through characters in a book or through the different narratives that you might read that are from other people's perspectives, or that you might read something and then really connect with it and realise that you're not alone with something that you're going through. So I wrote a poem all about sort of what empathy can be sort of through books and the way that books can sort of magically sort of transport you. And the Empathy Lab sort of picked up on it and they want me to sort of work with them and have it on their website, which is really lovely. And also I've been doing some work with the Midlands Partnership NHS Foundation Trust as well, which is sort of along similar lines really. It's a little bit about empathy, but it's also about how to be an ally. So I've worked with them during Pride Month and written a poem all about sort of what it means to be an ally and how people can sort of support equality and inclusion.
Brilliant. But everyone might guess there, you're very, very busy at the moment, aren't you? So is there anything projects you've got coming up then after lockdown eventually lifts you want to talk about?
Yes, actually, there's probably my biggest charity project this year is going to be an anthology for the cat's protection. And that's, at the moment, I'm sort of in the process of selecting poems. The deadline's passed for submissions and people are being notified about whether the poem has been successful. And the idea is that it's to raise money for the Stafford and Stone branch of Cats Protection. And we're going to have, depending on when it's safe, obviously with social distancing, but hopefully a face-to-face launch. And the idea will be that it's going to be end of October to coincide with Black Cat Awareness Week, because I think there's still a lot of prejudice and superstition surrounding black cats and cats in particular as an animal. And the Cats Protection do brilliant work with how they rescue and rehome animals. So it was a charity. I have a cat. I'm a crazy cat lady, and it was just a charity that I really wanted to support.
Brilliant. Now, obviously, that's all my questions anyway today. But if people want to find out more about you, Mel, where are they best going?
So they can go to my website, which is melwoodendwriting.com, or they can find me on Facebook at Mel Wardle Woodend, author and poet. That's quite a mouthful, really. Or if they just type in my name, Mel Wardle Woodend, then they'll see me. I appear with a picture of my guinea pig, so they'll know it's the right person. And my actual author page has a picture of my cat on a bookshelf, so they'll also know it's the right page because it's cats and guinea pigs.
Sounds good to me. Now, anyway, that's all the questions. I know you're going to read some poems out for us next. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, let you get yourself organised, and we'll see you in a minute, guys. Take care.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure as always, Mel.
Spoken, mate.
Hi, guys. Straight over to Mel. She's got a couple of points for us, and I'm looking forward to it as always, Mel. Go for it, my friend.
Thank you very much. This poem is the one that I wrote for the Staffordshire Borough Community Awards, and it's called What is Community? A sense of belonging, of never really being alone, when a friendship group becomes home. Shared values or beliefs, a common ground, working for goals you share with those you choose to be around. Communities are richly diverse, just to name a few: neighbourhood, school, sports, family, friends, creative, vegan, LGBT, nursing, homeless and church. Each community has individual goals towards which people collectively, passionately work, and a wider overall community of humans striving to look after our planet Earth. Sharing, caring and being there, it's what communities do. Being accepted as yourself with respect of diversity and difference. I can be me and you can be you. It's all about us, not all about me. A team spirit, team effort, a sense of pride in the difference we can make. When community creates a safe, secure space. People can come together for the benefit of each other. Shared responsibility, creating a work and play ethos to promote emotional well-being and inclusivity. Welcoming and embracing the input of all creates a community feel, along with physical actions like litter picking on streets, volunteering to listen to children read at school, or cooking the homeless a meal. Community is speaking out for rights, using own expertise to help another, or supporting wildlife to flourish in this world by helping an animal shelter or a charity shop if you're an animal lover. Being part of something that is more than the sum of one means you're not alone. We are stronger and more resilient together. Community provides a speck of warmth and brings brightness of light. Even in the depths of dark, the community spirit can be shown.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mel. That's a great start, that one.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's try to let's catch your breath for a second then. And you want to give us your second piece when you're ready?
Okay. This poem is the poem written for the Pocket Film Festival that was turned into a poetry film, and it's called Echoes. Castle on the hill, memories of days gone by, time stands still. Survey the land from high on a crumbling wall, all the town at my feet. Hills of Shropshire to the west, echoes of concerts from the past at Bingley Hall, away to the east. The potter's fire kilns to the north, heat permeates beautiful clay creations they have made, and to the south, streams and trees teem with wildlife, amid coarse bracken in wild shades of green. On Cannock Chase where, as a child, I and my father before me played. Always told to stick to the path for fear of adders and potholes, the latter caused by all the mines nearby, where miners search through darker days for coal. In days gone by, Stafford town itself laid claim to an industry of shoes. Lotus lined the Sandham Road, and on Common Road at Evo they manufactured glue, now Bostik, they still do. Stafford Jail remains standing on Jail Road. Heavy walls heave with the weight of wicked crimes that lie within. In past times, crowds gathered and crowed, watching prisoners hang in the gallows, facing truth for their sin. The old British reinforced concrete site, once a hive of industry, was reduced to rubble to make way for new houses in place of the old factory. And my nostalgic trip around Stafford would definitely not be complete if I didn't mention the English Electric Company of old, known simply as EE. You see, my grandpa worked there before I was born. He was an electrical engineer and inventor. He visualised, he imagined, he saw the future, creating electrical measuring systems, and he built one of the first TVs. English Electric has gone by many names over the decades: DEC, DE, Alstom in the 90s when my mum worked there too. But to me, I'll always remember it as the old EE. I'm proud to know that my grandpa and other engineers like him must have guessed the future. Looking back now in retrospect, I wonder how any of us could have ever known how far technology would take us after those first TV sets, in enormous cabinets with a small screen but a huge bulbous tube, showing programmes by the BBC 1 and 2. There was no Channel 4, 5, ITV satellite cable or Freeview. There was no Google to search. Man was just setting foot on the moon. the internet not yet invented, and a computer would take up the space of an entire room and not fit in your hand. And Stafford fits in my hands, and parts rest in my heart. As I look back to the past and see our futures on the faces of family members of days gone by in industry, striving and working hard.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to have to check out the video of that to see how visually it comes across in video. That's so evocative, that piece was completely.
Thank you.
Did you? I can see you put a lot into that piece. Do you think it took that piece take you quite a long time to write that one? Did it?
Yeah, actually, it did. Because I was trying to think about Stafford as a whole, trying to think what should I put in and what should I leave out, and because we were given the prompt of this old-fashioned sort of footage of a carnival, I couldn't relate to that in any way because I'd never been to Stafford Carnival. That was before I was born. But some of the floats were sponsored by English Electric, and so that sort of in my mind dropped my sort of head to the connection with my grandpa who worked at English Electric, and it made me think about all the other industries in Stafford, and then the sort of geography. So I wanted it to start off being on top of the castle hill and looking in the different directions to sort of take in the whole town and the north and the south as well. So yeah, I think it was a big project and lots and lots of work.
You can tell. You can tell it took a lot out of that one straight away. It was beautiful. Beautiful. That was. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Are you ready for number 3?
Yeah. So this third poem I'm going to share is the poem called Ally, which is all about equality and inclusion. She, he, hers, his, surely not they, them, theirs. Some people scratch their heads when introduced, and without meaning to, they even stare. But this is 2020. Isn't it about time that you are able to have your own preferred identity and I can have mine? The rainbow of pride flies to relinquish a divide, to repel prejudice, judgment and ignorance, inviting a world of equality for all, gay, bi, queer, trans, straight, LGBT+. An endless list showing we are not all the same, a celebration of uniqueness because we should all celebrate. We are all human, we are all equal, we deserve the right to celebrate being ourselves. Yet it takes more than flying a flag of pride to ensure equality, to prevent people being marginalised. But why? The world would be dull and flat if we were all the same. People's lives are precious and prejudice and judgment play a dangerous, toxic game. Every person has the potential to provide support, friendship, to become an ally, to stand up for individual rights for human equality, for any sexual persuasion, any preferred gender identity, or none. But what if I get it wrong? Sometimes the worry of not getting a pronoun right, of misunderstanding and causing offence by getting it incorrect, can stop someone from trying, stemming from fear of making a mistake, not from a lack of respect. Don't respond with anger, please tolerate, don't hate. If someone makes a genuine mistake, please simply educate. Everyone deserves to be heard, everyone deserves a voice, everyone deserves to be valued and respected for own personal choice. Everyone deserves to feel protected and safe, equal, a valued member of society, not isolated or blatantly treated differently, but accepted, respected for individual identity choice and treated with equality.
Fantastic. Yeah. Wow. Again, that's another piece you can tell that you put your heart and soul to that one. Because it's such a big project, you feel like by the end of it, when you've done the poem like that, you probably feel like you put twice as much effort in sometimes, don't you? And that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it's designed to work. That one really is a spoken word piece. I do have a written version that people see, you know, it sort of goes around on Facebook. But it's really designed to be a spoken word piece so people can hear it and really engage with the rhythm of it, I think.
Yeah, no, completely. Right, we're on to the big conclusion now, aren't we?
Okay.
Big fans of dun.
So the fourth and the last poem I want to share is the poem that I've written for Empathy Day, because I really do feel passionate about books being a vehicle for escapism and literacy being the gateway to success, really, as individuals, being able to manage in the real world, in society. Being able to read means you can apply for a job, you can go to college, anything like that. So the idea as well of making friends in books and finding people in the same situation or understanding new situations. I think it is all about the power of books and reading and what they can do. So this is empathy. Walk a mile in someone else's shoes, an acceptance shown of another's view. Even if reasons are not really understood or known, empathy grows. Eyes half closed, I step into a book where characters make me think twice, to open my eyes and really look, to consider a situation and to question wrong or right. Words impact and capture me, enrapture me, opening my eyes, opening my mind to empathy. I ponder and consider a different perspective for the very first time. Books cast a spell to capture you and capture me. They capture all who open them up to read magic ink-filled pages. Adjectives and verbs, words, a spell passed through the ages. And through the narrative of another, I hear my own voice and find a comrade I have never met, yet their story is mine. Experiences are shared. I am no longer alone. I'm not the only one struggling in this tumultuous world, and I barely dare to breathe as I read. The words flow, my mind is engaged, and something transfers into my soul from out of the page. The book takes its warm, inky fingers and firmly holds my hand. My mind and my heart expand. Together, the book and I navigate its final chapter. With a sigh, I stroke its spine and place my friend upon its shelf. I turn away with a stronger certainty. I have seen into a mirror of the self. My outlook has changed. I found an unanticipated understanding in an unexpected place. I've been in someone else's shoes and they have been in mine. Finally, I know I am not alone. I've seen into someone else's soul, heard someone else's story, and now I understand. Empathy flows. Empathy.
Brilliant. Thanks for that today, Mel. It's been a great way of finishing
you.
off. But let's hope then we get to chat quicker in 18 months this next time, definitely.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure having it again, because honest to God, guys and girls, when I get people on like Mel, I know you're always up to projects like I am. You're very, very busy.
Yeah.
It's like another 18 months, you're probably another 25 projects you want to talk about.
Who knows?
So, definitely. Well, hang around and you put it off mic. Thank you again for a pleasure today. So take care, guys and girls. Stay safe and stay safe.
Spoken, mate.